everyone, Voodoo here. So on Thursday, you guys saw kind of like my initial reaction, first thoughts about the changes that Havoc will be getting coming up in 11.1 Undermined, as well as the tier set. But in today's video, it's been a few days, so I wanted to come out and give my feedback and like my thoughts and like just general feedback on these actual changes. There's been some clarifications from Reels himself on some of these things. So I figured we'd go in and just talk about all the things that have changed, my feedback, and some clarifications that we've gotten. So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. This will probably be my last video of the year. I'll be taking a week off just to have time around the holidays. But in the new year, we'll be having a ton of content about these changes and everything. So like, comment, subscribe, like the video, spread it around, and let's get on to it. All right, so here are the changes. Now, we've already gone over these. If you want my initial reaction, you can go see it on my other channel, well, this channel, but the other video. So we're just gonna go through these, as well as the tier set and the new tree, which has slight changes to it, and talk about my feedback. Now, I think a lot of things are still going to come. We have some data mine changes to Eldrazi Reaver, which will be on the tree, which I'll show you, that have not been officially revealed yet. Once those are out, I imagine we'll be getting a better, more clear picture of what's changed. We obviously don't have a PTR, so I haven't tested anything yet, but we can kind of see what's happening here. So starting off with the first thing, I would be a little worried about Felskard. So with this being removed and with any necessary being removed, Felskard's losing a ton of damage. So not only is Demon Surge now being target capped after 8, so it'll start doing less and less. It'll still do a lot of damage, don't get me wrong, but it just won't be uncapped anymore. But any means necessary is also gone. So this is actually really big for our mastery. Now, Reels has said that he's like fully aware of what this means, but I do want to make special note of it, because with any means necessary gone and with Demon Surge capped, we lose a lot of both power in AoE, but also a lot of scaling with mastery. Because now at this point, mastery becomes a pretty like unwanted stat in AoE, which is kind of confusing because like mastery is good, but basically at this point, our only AoE damage that's mastery is like the Hunt Dot, Sigil of Suffering or Spite, whatever it's called, and I-Beam, right? So I guess Fel Rush might also be Chaos. I don't remember, but like it just really devalues mastery in AoE. So I think something needs to be done. I guess like Fel Barrage and Glaive Nimbus and stuff too, to like keep track of that and have, like know why that's happening. Obviously, it loses a lot of power in terms of Immolation Aura, just becomes fire damage. It loses roughly like 60%. I guess it would be 80%. So it'd be like 40% damage from that. Demon Surge loses 60% ish because this one converted 100%. Burning Blade loses 60% of its damage. This is a pretty big hit, and it does more so than the damage, which I don't think is a big deal. Like if you're seeing this and you're going, okay, Any Means Necessary was nerfed, and you're screaming and crying and you're like, Havoc's dead, how could they do this to us? I think you're missing the plot there. Obviously they're aware of this, things will be changed, but it is important to make note of it. But I think the bigger thing here is how this affects mastery as a stat for us, because this does make mastery significantly less impactful for us, specifically in AoE. Single target will still be pretty good. You have First Blood, you have Chaos Strike, I-Beam, I guess, Essence Break. So you still have a lot of things that deal chaos damage to single target, but in AoE, kind of losing that. So important to keep note there. Now, Reels has clarified why they got rid of it. Essentially, the ability went from, wow, I can turn like all of my damage into chaos, into, wow, I can turn Immolation Aura and Sigil of Flame into chaos, and it just wasn't really worth a capstone at the bottom of that, and they felt it wasn't needed, which I think is very fair. It was a pretty boring capstone node. It was very powerful because of what it did for us in AoE. It wasn't very interesting or exciting or anything like that. Now, they did say that they will put Hunt and Sigil of Suffering, Spite, Elysian Decree onto our mastery finally and work with Chaos, so that'll be great. But otherwise, it's like, you know, I don't blame them for moving it. Now, they did say that a future, or like some stuff in the future where they specifically target certain abilities to them into Chaos, like, you know, maybe there's a talent that makes Immolation Aura Chaos, or a tier set that does it, or something that does it, that there's a future where they can do that. But this opens up design space. It removes a pretty boring talent in the bottom, and stuff like that. But again, tuning isn't complete. He's aware of what this does. I did want to make note of this because it's a pretty big one. In terms of Screaming Torch Fiends, I'm happy with this. I think it's great. No notes really. I mean, this is pretty perfect. In terms of everything, this should, you know, it'll always throw a full power glaive if you have one. It won't throw the Eldrazi Reaver's glaive, which is good because you want to be able to control that, which is, you know, perfect. No notes. Really happy they brought this back. I think its placement's a little weird. We'll get on that, but, you know, still happy with that. Then we come to the movement changes. Again, I think these are good. What they've basically done here is they've taken Immolation Aura off of it, the trigger, and changed the trigger to the Hunt and Vengeful Retreat for both Momentum, which is now Exergy, and Inertia. Exergy, by the way, is a thermodynamic word in like physics and thermophysics about the amount of work available in a system at equilibrium. So I don't know, it doesn't work as well with Inertia anymore, but still, like, both physics terms, Momentum and Inertia made a lot of sense. Exergy, I think it's kind of lame, but whatever. But yeah, I mean, like, pretty good. 100% uptime on this one here. Inertia, you have a pretty high uptime, and Fellblade is also actually added to the trigger, which I really like. This basically gives you an option for single target in Fellblade and AoE in Fell Rush. Fell Rush, of course, does lots more AoE damage. Fellblade does significantly more single target damage. So you'll be using Fellblade in Raid, Fell Rush and Mythic Plus, especially with Unbound Chaos. 500% is a lot. This was buffed back up to how it used to be. So your Fell Rushes and your Fellblades will chunk every 20 seconds whenever you use Vengeful Retreat. Now, the one problem I can see with this is triggering it in Mythic Plus. That's kind of the big one, right? Because nowadays you can have an Immolation Aura going into packs. But if you don't have the Hunt, right, then you're going to have a pretty weird opener where you end up having to like Vengeful Retreat at the start of the pull just to get your like Inertia buff, if we play it, obviously. Which is kind of strange because then like you're kind of wasting initiative. So there's a bit of a weird friction there between initiative and Inertia, where you want to use Vengeful Retreat early so you can get your Chaos to buff your burst. But if you do that, you're wasting initiative. So it's a little strange. Obviously, we probably will still do it. The other small strange thing is that this makes you want to VR into Fell Rush because it buffs the damage. Now you can break that up with like a Glaive or a Chaos Strike or I-Beam or something like that. But if you're in AoE, you want to Fell Rush before your I-Beam to get the buff. But this makes it so that Vengeful Retreat and Fell Rush lock each other out for like a second or so, which means you can't use one or the other. So there is a bit of a weird friction there. But overall, I do like these changes. There is just some friction about, you know, like on pull and Mythic Plus. How's this working? As well as the friction between trying to use VR into Fell Rush because they lock each other out. So not fully certain what could be done there besides putting it back to how it was. But I do like this one a lot better. It means that in single target, we can use Immolation Aura for Fury. Now, I will say that this does make Immolation Aura significantly worse than how it was before. Because now not only does it lose the mastery buff that it had, it also loses the ability to grant Inertia, which means that like you won't always have Inertia with it where you did before. So Immolation Aura definitely needs to be on the tuning target here. But overall, good stuff. Finally, Cycle of Hatred. So when I talked about this on Thursday, I mentioned I thought it works something like Radons. Now it doesn't do that. What this does is that every time you cast I-Beam, the next one has a 5-second less cast cooldown, stacking 4 times. So you use your first I-Beam, the next one will have 35 seconds on its cooldown. Use your second I-Beam, the next one will have 30 seconds on its cooldown. Third I-Beam is 25, and after your fourth I-Beam, the rest of the fight, all your I-Beams will be 20 seconds. So it's not really 4 because you get 2 with meta. So you'll go, you know, I-Beam, meta, I-Beam, because the Chaos Transformation is still around, which will give you 10 seconds of CDR. Then you'll have a 30-second I-Beam, 25-second I-Beam, and then they'll all be 20 seconds. Now, this is significantly better than Older Cycle. Older Cycle had so much issues in terms of like uptime, in terms of like usability in Mythic Plus and certain raid encounters. And this doesn't have that. This is gone, right? Like you could hit I-Beam and then go off boss for 30 seconds and you'll still get full value from this talent, which is wonderful. It means that like this talent's actually playable now, which I think is great. But the problem with it is that it's kind of weird in terms of syncing up with Essence Break. Not sure how things will be handled there. Likely currently what will happen, there's no sims or anything, you'll probably hold your 30-second I-Beam for 10 seconds and then hold Essence Break for 5 seconds to sync up with the 20-second one. So there is going to be some weird syncing with this talent if you play it and you play Essence Break, which I guess is all right. I would rather this is just like I-Beam reduces the cooldown of your next I-Beam every time it deals damage up to 20 seconds or something like that. And you make it so that it's like Radons, but it always just gives you 20-second I-Beam for 2 talent points. I guess they're worried that might be too powerful. You could always nerf I-Beam, but I think it would be better to just give us the cooldown reduction instead of making it this weird hoops we have to jump through. But I still think this is significantly better than the old cycle. I could see this being played. It has some synergy with our tier set, which I'll get to next. But overall, you know, kind of weird still, but much better than older cycle. The desyncing stuff I think needs to be looked at a little bit because it's definitely frustrating. Maybe I don't know. Like you can make Essence Break also do this, but then like Essence Break will have some weird desync because you can't reset it, and then it'll be super powerful in 20-second burst. But definitely enjoy this. I think it's much better than the old cycle, but I still think there's like another step to go there. So that's all the official changes. Now we do have our tier set, which isn't on the 1 second. It's on my other page here. Tier set. Here we go. So all the tier sets during this time are spec based for the 2-piece. So all the melees will involve with winning streak. All the tanks have luck of the draw. Ranged have jackpot, and then healers have insurance. They're all kind of goblin themed, which is like fine. The issue is that the melee one sucks. I kind of hate the melee one. So basically, we don't have the proc chance, but your spells and abilities give you winning streak, which stacks up to 10 times and increases the damage of your spenders, basically. So Havoc gives you Blade Dance and Chaos Strike. Unholy gets Death Coil and Epidemic. Frost gets Frost Strike and Glacial Advance. Feral gets Ferocious Bite, Rip, and Primal Wrath. So you get the idea with that there, right? Like it buffs up your primary ability that you're pushing all the time. The issue with it is that they also have a chance to remove a stack. I'm not sure if it removes a stack or removes the whole thing, but effectively it works out to like you stack up the stacks and then every so often you remove them. Not sure again if this was one stack or all the stacks or how high this proc chance is, but it's pretty boring. It's very passive. You don't play around it at all. Then our 4-piece winning streak persists for 7 seconds after being removed. So, you trigger Blade Dance or Chaos Strike to be removed, and then it will last for 7 seconds longer. So I imagine this means that it's going to be a per stack basis and work a bit like Iron Fur. But again, we don't know. Then entering Demon Form sacrifices all of your winning streaks to gain 1% critical strike chance per stack consumed. Lasts 15 seconds. So again, we don't know how this will work exactly with persist for 7 seconds. Can you get more than 10 stacks because these are around? But basically how this reads is that you have a 10% maximum Chaos Strike and Blade Dance buff outside of Demon Form, which is not very powerful because all of our damage is inside of Demon Form. And then whenever you're in Demon Form, you sacrifice it, which means I'm pretty sure even the Persist one is gone. And then you gain 1% critical strike chance, which is also not very powerful. So outside of Demon Form, maximum 10% Chaos Strike Blade Dance, not very good. That's the maximum. Probably be lower than that because you can remove stuff. So probably like 7, I'd have to say on average. And then you get rid of it, and then you have roughly like a 7 to 10% critical strike chance while in Demon Form. That's not very good. Blade Dance and Chaos Strike don't do damage outside of Demon Form. Like the critical strike chance is nice, but we already have so much crit. It does scale with Know Your Enemy, but again, that is a crutch for our whole spec. Has some synergy with Cycle of Hatred, some synergy, not even really, with Shattered Destiny. Some synergy, I guess, with Essence Break because of the damage window, but it's really boring. It's really passive. It's numerically weak, it seems like, and I really just think this should be taken back to the drawing board. There's a lot cooler options for winning streaks. There's like a ton more interesting things. This one gives you like Frost Strikes, which is kind of cool. Holy gives you like a ton of damage during Dark Transformation. Barrels does like extra physical damage and increase your bleed damage. The evoker ones, the jackpot ones I think are even more interesting, but like just seems kind of boring, seems kind of mid, not very interesting. Low options on talents, pretty numerically weak. So hopefully this one gets taken back to the drawing board, just gives us more on it, because losing the current tier set, which is actually pretty fun because it gives us a proc, and then going into this tier set will feel horrible. Because the rotation will be like you push Chaos Strike until you can Blade Dance, and then you just repeat that. So hopefully something's done about this one. Not very happy with this tier set. Like after dissecting it more, really not that powerful. And then finally, look at the tree. Not a ton has changed here. They have swapped Unbound Chaos and Inertia, which I do like. It means that you really can just never Fell Rush if you so choose. Like if you want Inertia and you're fine just using Fell Blade in the hunt. And Vengeful Treat, then you can just take that and you'll have the bonuses without ever needing to use Fell Rush, which is what Unbound Chaos does. So I do like those changes there. So there's really are a lot of low mover options now. Mover is still alive and well. They've done it pretty good on balancing both of them, where if you want to use the Fell Rush potion in AoE, it's going to be better that way. It's not going to be so much better where it's like, you need to take this. There's also sort of frees up a talent point in the bottom row, but we'll kind of always be taking Unbound Chaos, so it doesn't really matter. Finally, Scream Brutality is down here. I don't fully like this placement because we either have to take 2 points Cycle of Hatred, which has 0 synergy with Scream Brutality, or 2 points of Chaotic Disposition, which has some small synergy because of Soul Scar, but again, pretty low synergy with Scream Brutality. So a lot of these nodes down here are kind of just placed randomly. The only one that makes sense where it is Shadow Destiny. So I do think a tree reshuffle is in order. I don't think we're going to get it, but I do think a 1 would be good. So it just doesn't really make sense, either of these talents leading into this one, but you know, is what it is, I guess. Still happy this exists. Finally, the one change we've got in Eldrazi Reaver that was data mined was Wounded Quarry was changed. So what this reads now is expose weakness in the target of your Reaver's mark, causing your physical damage to any enemy to also deal 30% to your mark target as chaos. So it has a bit of mastery scaling there. But the physical damage basically is Fear of the Eldrazi slashes, it's AoE Blade Dance slashes, it's Reaver's Glaive, and it's Throw Glaive. This Throw Glaive is physical. I really like this idea. We'll see what happens in terms of souls, because this like kills our soul generation, because currently this gives you souls, and it's part of the reason why we have to stay on one target. If they're getting rid of the souls and just making this like, I don't even know what they could be doing with it, but this will be very powerful and very interesting, and I kind of like it. There also was a data mine change, I think, that limits you to having 1 Reaver's Mark out at all, which means like you can't spread these around and do a ton of AoE damage, which is fair. But we'll see what happens. I imagine next update we'll get more on Eldrazi Reaver, and we'll need more on Telescard as well, because after they capped this, after they nerfed, we'll got rid of any means necessary. Demon Surge lost a ton of damage. Burning Blades lost a ton of damage. Student of Suffering lost a lot of value because like the mastery is going to be a lot worse than it was before. So we'll see what happens with Felskard. It's looking a lot worse, and I think there are more Reaver changes coming. But that's my feedback. Just more thought out, more well spoken than my initial reactions. I do like these changes. I do think more are coming. But provide feedback in a succinct way. Don't just go like, oh, this is ass. Say like, this could be better in this way. I like this because of this. This is bad because of this. Don't attack people. Be nice. And those are my thoughts. So let me know what you guys think down below. I will see you guys after the new year, actually, after my little break. And I appreciate you all hanging around. We've had a great year here on the channel, and I look forward to 2025 with you all. So there you go. Have a good one. Peace. A big thank you to all of my channel members. Thank you to Zooligan, rpalms46, Fear Redefined, Justin Penny, Callum Price, Gabrielle Correa, Magic Man 133, Falafador and Dark Terror, Sky Elk, and Brad Wisniak. Thank you all so much for supporting the channel. If you want to support the channel a little bit, consider becoming a channel member down below. And just thanks for watching the videos, everybody. Even if you don't become a channel member, you're still supporting me. So thanks, everybody. See you guys next time. Peace.